Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my 2017-2018 NFL Conference Championship Weekend predictions. Well, for the Fanatic, it was another average week. For the second straight week of the postseason, I went 2-2 on both the against the spread and straight up picks. So now overall for the postseason, I am 500, 4-4 in both categories, and now straight up for the year, I am 128 and 126 and 9, which equals about 50.4%. And straight up, I am now 176 and 88, which equals about 66.7%, about 2/3 straight up. So overall, look, I'm happy that I'm not below 500 in the postseason. But definitely being out of 8 games to have to split evenly with both, it's not a very satisfying result through the postseason. Though I don't think anybody really expected Nick Foles in Philadelphia to do enough offensively to defeat the Atlanta Falcons offense. Kudos to Philadelphia's defense. One of Jim Schwartz's best games as the Eagles defensive coordinator, and maybe one of the best games of his entire career as a defensive coordinator, to shut down that offense, to have Devontae Freeman basically mean nothing. He really only had the one big touchdown catch. You told the Falcons basically stopped running with Telvin Coleman, who was averaging about 8 yards per touch, which blew my mind. And for the Atlanta Falcons, the goal was 20. Here's a fun stat. The Atlanta Falcons, if they scored 20 or more points in any of the games they played this year, they were 10-0 in those games. When they scored under 20 points, they were 0-7. They've lost 8 straight of those, and in the last 4 seasons, I believe they're 2-17 in games where they scored 20 or fewer points. So, kudos to the Eagles defense for that. Did the Eagles get some lucky breaks? Sure. Keanu Neal getting a interception, or getting a reception from Torrey Smith off the knees of Keanu Neal. That was huge. Jake Elliott hitting a huge 52-yard field goal to put the game within a point to go into the half after he missed a extra point in the beginning of the game. And also, it just was Matt Ryan became too Julio dependent. Like Mohamed Sanu had a nice couple catches, but Taylor Gabriel had no targets, Austin Hooper had no targets, and Levine Toilolo only had 1 reception. If I was Matt Ryan, I would try to use those assets more often, because if you're just going to go to Julio all the time, basically just double and put like a lurking safety or corner on that side to make sure that the Falcons can't go to him. And on that last play, even though Julio fell down and Jalen Mills kind of had some weird coverage, you could argue he held him a little bit, but it was a good play. There was no call, and the Eagles got their first postseason win since 2008. So kudos to them. And good luck to the Eagles for hosting their first AFC title game since 2004. And then, of course, you look at the Patriots-Titans. The Titans game, it was impressive to see the Titans on the first drive score a touchdown. They looked pretty solid. Mariota was running around. But then after that, it basically was a downward spiral from there. Everything went the Pats' way. I was surprised. The Pats were able to get 7 sacks on Mariota, which I did not expect of his ability to hit that many times for losses. There was definitely some controversial calls from the refs that went the Pats' favor, especially the weird encroachment false start penalty that went against the Patriots at first, but then went against the Titans after about 2 or 3 minutes. And that was ticky-tacky and really weird. The timeout clock, where it stopped on 1 second for about 5 seconds, and they were able to get a field goal attempt, even though Kostowski missed, and a few other calls. But at the end of the day, the Pats just also proved they were just supremely better. Tom Brady threw for over 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Another flawless Tom Brady game, and this means with this victory, he surpasses the Oakland Raiders in terms of postseason victories. That means he is only 5 franchises away, except his own, of getting the all-time amount for postseason victories. And for the Titans, look, congratulations. It was a heck of a year. It was a close year, but it was weird to see that you fired head coach Mike Mularkey. From what I read, I understood that Mike Mularkey was going to have an extension, but they wanted some coaching changes on staff. And I understood what Mularkey's position was. He didn't want to fire anybody. I wouldn't have either. So, for Titans fans, shout out to Keith Bailey, congratulations, but you don't know what you have until it's gone. Like, I know a lot of Titans fans want to see John Robinson or his Patriot ties, try to go after Matt Patricia. He went after Bob Quinn out in Detroit. There's a Patriot tie there. Or he wanted after Josh McDaniels. But you know what? He went to Indy because he knew he had a better team. So unless you get Mike Vrabel or Jim Schwartz, which you should, I don't think the Titans are going to be that much better. The bland white bread, it may go sour. And I would tell all Titans fans, you may be happy that Mike Mularkey and his weird offensive system and seeing in Mariota, potential or moving up, it wasn't going there. Over the new guy, especially if you hire a guy like Matt LaFleur or Mike Vrabel, it's not going to work that well either. So, you know what? And I'm not going to feel any sympathy for any Titans fans because even though you mutually parted ways, you didn't see what Mike Mularkey had done, and you didn't value it for at least another year. So this new guy, whoever he has, you reap what you sow if the guy sucks. And for the Titans, you're going to have a huge problem because, Derrick Henry, nobody's going to want to go there. And you're really going to look at Mike Mularkey and go, wow, we should have maybe kept Mike Mularkey for at least one more year. But good luck to the Titans there. And then Steelers Jaguars, that was a weird offensive shootout that it became. I do want to give the Jaguars defense a lot of credit. They caused 2 more turnovers, which means Ben Roethlisberger has now 7 turnovers on the year against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is really impressive, including 21 points off his own hands with pick sixes or fumble return touchdowns. I thought Blake Bortles played a very solid game of football up to his standards. He's going to need to complete more than 14 passes this week to beat the New England Patriots, but he played solid football. He hit the wide open receiver when he had to, and he made plays with his feet and his arm and his brain, and in crucial times let the Jags move the ball forward. And also kudos to Leonard Fournette, who had a career high 3 touchdown game, and at one point has scored more rushing touchdowns in Pittsburgh compared to Le'Veon Bell. And actually, if you think about it, I think he still has more rushing touchdowns than Le'Veon Bell does in pure rush. So, for Jacksonville, this is a team that nobody expected to make any noise against the Steelers. They used all that motivation. They used what the Steelers had given them, with Mike Mitchell basically talking about the Patriots, Le'Veon Bell talking about rematches before they, got through them. Mike Tomlin saying 7 weeks ago, we want to play New England. It's either going to be in Foxborough or Heinz Field. And the Jags said, you know what, you still have to play us. And they couldn't beat them again. So kudos to Jacksonville there. And finally, I encourage everybody, go on to Highlight Heaven or type in Paul Allen Highlight Heaven and listen to Paul Allen's call, the Minnesota Miracle. It is one of the greatest plays you will ever see in pro football history. It will go down in the history books. And every time you see a playoff game from this moment on, that is going to be a play that you remember. So congratulations to the Minnesota Vikings. Congrats to Case Keenum. Congrats to that defense. I feel bad for Drew Brees and Marcus Williams in some ways. Drew Brees had one of his best performances in the second half. He had 3 touchdowns, about a 140 quarterback rating against the number 1 defense in the NFL. But at the end of the day, Marcus Williams, I understand the problem because, again, he was probably going to be the defensive rookie of the year, except that his teammate, Marshawn Lattimore, is on his team and is better than Marcus Williams. But at the same time, you can't go for the tackle. You can't go for error because the fact that when he tried, he missed, and Diggs was able to land on his feet, and there was nobody behind him, there was nobody chasing him, and he just ran into the end zone untouched, and the Vikings got an improbable victory, one of the most improbable victories you will ever see. For Vikings fans, this tops Favre Lewis in terms of miracle endings, just in terms of the scope of the play and just the moment. Like that Favre Lewis play is one of the greatest things you'll see too, where Brett Favre in his third game as a Viking just chucks the ball nearly like 50 yards, and he threw it to Greg Lewis. Well, I think that was his 1 or 2 receptions of the year, but he clipped the end zone by the skin of his teeth and got the touchdown in a Brett Favre type miracle win. That one trumped it, just for the type of circumstances and the way the play went. It's a combination of both throw, luck, and skill from Stephon Diggs to win the game, and kudos to the Vikings for that. All right, so time for my picks and thoughts on each game. So this Sunday in the AFC Championship game, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots are 9.5-point favorites in this game. I like Jacksonville here plus 9.5, but I'm going to take New England straight up. But and then the NFC Championship game, when the Minnesota Vikings go to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Minnesota Vikings are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I like Minnesota here minus 3.5, and Minnesota straight up. All right, so time for my thoughts on each game. The Patriots over Jacksonville. This is a very interesting game. This is a young team. This is a young team in Jacksonville that has nothing to lose. They have a great defensive blueprint to try to limit the Patriots. You have a front seven with 4 guys on the front that they don't have to blitz. They actually blitz the least amount of time in the NFL to get pressure. They only blitzed on 18% of their dropbacks. That was the least in the league, and they ended up with those 4-man pressures getting 55 sacks, which was second in the league behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had 56. They had the highest turnover, one of the highest turnover ratios in the NFL, with plus 14. This Boye and Ramsey were the highest rated cornerback duo in terms of lowest quarterback rating thrown against their receivers. You have a Jacksonville running game, Leonard Fournette and T.J. Yeldon. That Leonard can definitely do a lot of the running through the tackles, use his power aspect. Even though he did have an ankle injury, which I am interested to see how it is going to go for the rest of the week, and how I know he's going to play, but how well he'll be on that ankle. And then you have T.J. Yeldon, who is their pass catching back, who can make the big plays or make the drive sealing plays in terms of the big 40-yard catch on third down against the Steelers, the big run into the touchdown in the end zone. And DJ Young and Leonard Fournette can be a decent running duo to go through a okay Patriot run defense. You have a secondary that can basically, besides Aaron Colvin on Chris Hogan, can lock up basically anybody they want to choose and put them in a fight. But the problem for me is it's Blake Bortles. Tom Brady's lost to a lot of elite defenses, but the key thing is he's also lost to the Mannings, Flacco, Sanchez, and some other QBs. Okay, besides Mark Sanchez, which is kind of the outlier. If Blake Bortles can play like Mark Sanchez, which he can, I guess they'll have a chance to get a victory. But the way you saw him play against the Steelers, he only threw for 216 yards. He's going to need to at least get 30 to 40, maybe 50 more yards with that same kind of stat line in order to get a victory, because I think 200 yards is way too short for what you need to beat the Pats. If you look at Alex Smith and Cam Newton, 2 of the guys that beat him, and even Jay Cutler, they both had about nearly 300 or more yards with 3 or more TDs with 0 or 1 interception. So do I think Blake can play up to that kind of level? Definitely in terms of the pick ratio. He could go, 0 or 1 picks. And by the way, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 8-0 in games this season where Blake Bortles does not have a turnover. So that is big. But with Tom Brady, this is a team that is rested. Most of their guys are fully healthy. And I just think, again, the Jags, can put up a fight. Their defense can hang around. But if the Steelers can put up 42 points on that Jags defense, I know there were some incredible plays by Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and the Pats don't nearly have those kind of stars, maybe except Gronk and Brady in terms of offensive depth. But at the end of the day, this is Foxborough, this is New England. This is the worst quarterback winning percentage against a very underrated but consistent defense ever since week 5. I'm going to take the Pats here just because I can't trust Bortles to play as well, or to play at a level where he needs to elevate from he did last week in order to win this game. Do I think it will be interesting? Absolutely. I'm excited for this game because you got the best defense going up against one of the best offensive football. And I think this was the biggest challenge for the Jags, for the Pats, out of all 4 teams that were remaining. And I genuinely believe that Jags will put up a great fight to at least, by the end of the game, look respectable. Blake Bortles, a quarterback, going into Gillette. Tom Brady's never lost to the Jaguars, and the only other time Blake Bortles faced the Jags, he got blown up by 34 points. I don't think that's going to happen this time with how this team has been rebuilt and restructured, but I'm going to take the Pats here because I trust that Brady and them are going to prepare for them. They're not going to talk about Jalen Ramsey did. And I think this time, Tom Coughlin, even though he's the architect of the team, and he is probably the best coach that knows how to beat Bill Belichick in these big spotlight games, I think the Jags pull this out. I think the Pats pull this out with a consistent game of going against the run defense and using the matchups in the weak Jacksonville secondary, or in the weak parts of the Jacksonville secondary, in order to win this game. Sounds like Jacksonville plus 9.5, but New England straight up. And the other game, the Vikings over the Eagles. This was really tough. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings here because I trust the makeup of that team, and I think that the Vikings have a more consistent quarterback. And I think Case Keenum will make one less mistake. That's what it is. Whoever gets the coin toss, I would defer. I put my best unit out there and see how the other quarterback responds to that. If Case Keenum can get a touchdown right off the bat, maybe that Eagles defense loses its confidence and they lose the game. Same thing with the Eagles. If they score a touchdown on the Vikings defense, kind of the same ebb and flow. But I'm taking the Vikings here because I've seen the Vikings play consistent football all year with Case Keenum, who I think can make one more play or make one less mistake to beat Nick Foles in a low-scoring affair of very Atlanta Philly-like. But in some ways, as you're an Eagles fan, you're happy because you much rather play the Minnesota Vikings or a limited offense compared to Drew Brees, who can run or pass it well whenever he wants to. So that's it. So like, comment, rate, subscribe. Anybody out there watching, please check out the NFL YouTube prognosticators page. People like Billy B, Halfbox Nation, Geo Knows, Keith Bailey, Johnny Brzezinski, Bridgewater's Finest, Logan Schiff, all those guys and gals that make these YouTube NFL predictions. Please check them out. The MN Beast, Minnesota Beast, and good luck to your Vikings, buddy. Good luck to Geo as well. He's a Vikings fan as well. Andrew Warren, all those guys and gals. Please check out their videos too. They're great NFL predictors, just like I am. And that's it. So until next week for my Super Bowl 52 prediction and analysis, this is Matthew the Fanatic signing off. Until then, so long.